The Walton Town Council proclaimed June Equality Month at a meeting held Monday, June 12th.
I'm inquiring about the status of our, what we started last month. Mara Little presented last month, but she had to work tonight, so she could not be here, so I am here instead. So I see that this is out, so I'm just asking, where are we on this? Are we signing the proposed document as we worked out in our after meeting last month, or?
I have that under my report. We will either address it now, if the board would like to, offer any other comments from anybody else in the floor, and I can move it up, or we can wait till my report.
Could we move it up? I think we can.
Do we have any other comments?
I think we do, actually. And I had something I wanted to read into the record from Christian Vidic, who also could not be here tonight because he is in Albany and could not make it. But Christian wrote.
This is Christian Vitek, is that what you said?
Vitek, yes, who, I have to say is the author of many of progressive movements in this county. He's the founder of the Young Progressives of Delaware County, which is a nonpartisan group but pushes for social justice across the county. And he was a strong supporter of this Pride Proclamation, and he recently wrote his story as to why he's supporting this. And I think it's really tells all we need to know, or most of it, at least from his point of view. An open letter for Pride. With love for years, I struggled to come to terms with who I was. I didn't feel comfortable talking about it with my family, my friends, my school, my community. For years, queer students at Walton Central School have had to stand up to bigotry and hatred spewed and supported by other students, community leaders, and educators of theirs. I wish everyone was taught to foster love instead of exiling those different from you into silence. As an openly queer and successful student in Walton, many figured I didn't suffer from discrimination. I did. I was bullied, I was mocked, I was whispered about, I was watched as my fellow queer students were physically intimidated, and I watched my school administration struggle to protect students. To survive, I had to smile, I had to excel, I had to fit in the best I could. But what does it feel like to live in the box your community has built for you? For them to only accept you if you didn't throw it in their face or make it your entire impersonality. It was actually one of my high school educators, Amy Randall, that created space for me to come into myself. I was one of the founding members of the Walton Genders and Sexualities Alliance, and I owe my fellow members so much for who I am today, and I hope they know it. I sat alongside a group of individuals who were ostracized and found community amongst them. In paren, Bug Condon. I remember thinking how life-saving it is to have teachers, Daniel Cole, Ellen Neri, and a guidance counselor, Karen Elizabeth, validate queer students' identities. And it was life-saving. There is nothing more powerful than the hope they gave. So when you ask, why do we need Pride? It's because there are still children who believe they are better off dead than to come into themselves. It is a matter of life and death. The horrifying treatment of queer students in Walton needs to come to an end. So here's to the outcasts, the weirdos, those that didn't fit in, or those who do but recognize it's conditional on assimilation. You keep being exactly who you are, and you will settle into a beautiful life. Visibility is a lifeline, a flag, a rainbow, an openly queer or allied student, educator, parent, neighbor, community member. Give someone hope. Please do something this Pride. It might just save a life. Okay, so that's Christian's comments about in support of Pride proclamations, not only in Walton, but across the country. And I think others have some other things they want to add. So, but thank you for doing this.
Oh,
Thank you for, I also want to thank, I don't think this is widely known, but I want to thank the town board for going the step and sitting down with me and Mara last meeting. That really meant a lot to me, that you did that. I appreciate it.
Does someone else want the floor?
Hi, everybody. My name's Tony Leslie Stankiewicz. I'm a member and a resident of Walton. Been here for about 15 years. And I didn't want to get this wrong, so I wrote it down. But I thank you for, with respect and gratitude, for allowing me to speak. I love Walton. I consider it my home. I've been living here and working here for the last 15 years. I shop in the stores. I know the warm feeling of a community, a small town community. Recently, only in the last year, I identified as a member of the LGBTQ community, discovering to my amazement that I am the T in LGBTQ. Gender transition away from male privilege, I had to a transgender female. I have a unique perspective. I took a lot of my ability to walk freely through the community for granted. Now, occasionally visits to the grocery store and other places can be an uncomfortable experience. I identify with the struggles of marginalized communities, and the LGBTQIA has been a source of acceptance and tolerance and love for me. I am in favor of Walton adopting the proclamation similar to the others adopted in neighboring towns. As our elected representatives of all the members of our community, I urge you to reconsider your stance and vote to join the celebration of June as Pride Month and lead the way for our beloved town to cherish and to nurture and to protect all of its citizens. We are in a time of great strife and turmoil. It's a dangerous time for some of us, and our leaders taking a stand would go a long way to setting our town as an example of how things could be if we all work together for them. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Gigi Stankiewicz, and I have a family member that is part of the LGBTQ community, Tony. And yeah, relationships are complicated. People are complicated. Community is important. And for some of those that are going through these changes in our family, it's really important that the community creates a supportive environment so that we can go through the changes and stay as a family, because it is complicated. And so I am hopeful when I look at this Equality Month proclamation, that in a sense to have equality, we have to have equity. And through equity and having support and identifying and putting supports in place, we can have equality. So in looking at this and identifying the equity we need to have in place by acknowledging the LGBTQ members of our community, I am hopeful that we will move in this direction, and I thank you for considering it and thinking of our community and the work that you do for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to have floor time?
I just have a question. You can come up. Yes. I'm Rachel. I also live on 22, or Eastbrook as it's locally known. I guess I'm just curious about the proclamation. Like, what does it mean in practice? Like, how is it? Like, how would the community know about it aside from like coming to a town board meeting? Like, is it like in the yearly calendar, or like how does this show up?
It would be in the minutes of the meeting, it would be in the reporter, I would assume, you know, any proclamation. We don't do a lot of proclamations. What we've done them for is for specific community events, but that would be how they would know.
Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we will move this from my report up to now. Since last month's meeting, I've had several email contacts from local people in support of a proclamation. 3 specifically. However, I had numerous verbal people coming up to me saying they're against any type of pride proclamation.
Specific.
Overwhelmingly, it was, they are all in favor of what we did last year. That proclamation that we did last year encompasses everyone. So 3 people emailed me, but numerous people came up to me in various areas around the town, expressing their concern and their opinion on a proclamation, and they were all in favor of continuing what we did last year, the Equality Month proclamation.
I don't know
So,
if you guys had
it
people
was-
approach you, but I had people approach me too, and that was what I heard too. That they liked, we spent a lot of time on the equality thing last year. We want to include everyone. And I don't think making a proclamation makes people nicer to each other for specific things anyway. And I hear what Christian's saying about his experience, but some of what he's saying is a high school experience. I mean, you could say that about a divorced kid, you could say that about different ethnicity kid, you could say that about a fat kid, you know, some of that is high school. I think as a world, we're moving toward more equality. I hope we're moving toward more equality. Until we put people in boxes and say, well, this is for this, and this is for this, and this is for this. And that's what we're trying to avoid, in my opinion. We're trying to make one, let's all, I don't know if anybody has read this, people that, you know, have here, I don't know if you guys have read this. But it's very much saying, influence, awareness, provide support and advocacy for the inclusion of all members of the community, and an opportunity to take action, engage in dialogue, to strengthen alliances, build acceptance, and advance equal rights. I think that's what I want to say. I'm not gonna speak for these guys, they can speak for themselves, but that's what I think we need to say, because I think we need to, if we specific to a specific group, then this group feels ignored. That's the whole point. We don't want anybody to feel ignored. We want everybody in Walton to feel accepted and equal, and we also know that that doesn't always happen, but I don't think a proclamation is going to make that happen anymore. I think this is saying that in Walton, we believe in equality.
I'm curious, are you reading from the proposed or the original?
I'm reading from the previously adopted.
Anyone else have any comments that they'd like to make?
I'd like to make a little commentary about this whole thing. My sister-in-law on my first marriage was transsexual, very successful, went through a lot to be where she was. I have a daughter that is lesbian. I have a son with Asperger autism who went through gender dysphoria early on in his life and has stayed a male, and that's resolved. He still has some issues with his life. I love them all. I don't think that you can change very easily how people see each other, unfortunately, and certainly not because of a proclamation. But having said that, I think that the whole looking for the word movement for the LGBTQ plus community has gotten to the point that is normalizing certain psychiatric disorders too, and that's a problem. I think that adults that decide to undergo sexual modification surgery make that decision on their own, and they have the right to do so, and they should not be looked upon in a negative way at all. They have the right to do that, and that's their decision. The problem is when we normalize this, and now you have 6 years old getting hormones and surgeries, like some people are pushing. So we're going from one extreme to the other. I mean, I remember in medical school, one of the tenets of young boys' behavior is that they play with dolls. They have XY chromosomes. They go through identifying themselves as male or female. At what point is it reasonable to change that is different. But the problem with mentioning one particular group is normalization of certain things that are happening. And there is people who take it the whole other extreme. I think that our prior proclamation of equality is very encompassing. And again, I'm completely and deadly against any type of negative behavior against a person because of their sexuality. And I'm also deadly against influencing children in one way or the other. Children will do what they do, and if they're gay, they're gay. I have 2 of them in my family. That's not a negative thing. Okay? A gay person can be as beautiful as anybody else. Okay? And it should be respected the same way. But when you start mentioning particular groups, there is a particular reason why this plus is there. Is it for fairies? Is it for this? Is it for that? How many genders are you gonna have? Okay? And so, that's just my take on it. I think that we have a very good proclamation already.
Kathleen, you asked if what I read was from the proposed or the adopted. They are actually the same in both, just to clarify that.
Well, when we sat at the table, what we wanted to do was find the 4 of us. To find a place where we could meet, Joe was dead set on equality, and we let that go on saying Equality Month rather than Pride Month, was what the original proclamation says. as long as we could include the LGBTQ, a mention of that in the Equality Proclamation, we felt that was a good compromise. Because, I mean, the whole point of this exercise here was the fact that the LGBTQ came to you and asked for a recognition. And to do a proclamation and not include them in that proclamation is kind of misses the mark a bit in their request. So it's sort of a blending of the two. It's not like screaming
the
it,
next
but
person, the next group comes, I think that's
I think
what
you
I'm
can
saying,
deal
I'm not
with the
talking
next-
to anybody else. That's what I'm saying, is that we hear you, we have listened to that, I don't disagree with anything any of you have said, I don't disagree with any of it. There are people who will, that's always gonna be true, no matter what I say, you and I don't agree on a lot of things that we talk about, but that doesn't mean I don't respect you, that you don't respect me, that we respect each other, that's equality. If we start putting groups specifically in it, that takes away from equality, in my opinion.
We're talking equity here. We're not really talking equality.
No, we're talking equality.
No,
I understand
I-
the difference between equity and equality, we're talking equality.
Yeah.
Well, you're talking equality.
Yes.
I'm talking equity.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm
that's the
talking
difference.
equality, that's the difference.
Okay.
Well, that's where the big
Well,
difference
what we're,
is.
yeah, I think that's where we're getting to. That's what we're
philosophy,
getting to.
so.
You're thinking equality, and what we're asking for is equity, and we need to come to an agreement on that. I don't know that we're going to reach that tonight. I am asking this board to consider signing the agreed upon proposed document tonight. And I think we would be happy with that. If you could sign the one
can
that we
can I ask you something?
agreed upon at our discussion.
But that was a
When-
committee, you
can-
understand that that's.
Yes,
Well,
I
and that
understand.
And
was,
it has come forward.
yeah,
That was,
and we had
Can
seen
I-
the final.
Can I say
result.
something?
Well, it's
Can I
supposed to be
ask you something?
distributed-
When you talk
I'm
about
sorry,
equity.
I'm sorry, it was supposed to be distributed prior to the meeting, so. were
Right,
you
right,
able
yeah,
to-
and it was.
Okay.
When you talk about equity, is there anything that a member of the LGBTQ plus community cannot do? Can you give me examples of lack of equity?
Well.
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
well,
I think what you read from Christian is that Christian was
Christian
discriminating
gave you a long
against
list of
the
things
DEI.
that he had. to deal
Discrimination
with
doesn't
because-
mean lack of equity.
Yes.
Equity is equality of whatever for everybody.
No,
And,
not necessarily.
oh really?
It's not equal portions to everybody.
Equality
That's
is
not-
equality. It is what it is. Not what you interpret it to be. The word says equality. So legally,
It does say equality,
is there
right.
anything legally that a member of the community cannot do?
We're not talking about legalities here.
No, because
We're not asking for
no
a
proclamation
legal-
is gonna change the people that are a-holes out there that discriminate against a member of that community. Okay? No proclamation is gonna do that. But what it does, and is happening in this country, is normalizing certain things that should not be
I
normalized.
disagree with you wholeheartedly there. Talking
That's
about
okay.
something.
That's
I,
Yeah,
Talking
I-
about
I-
something does
we're gonna
not
move
normalize
forward
it.
now. Thank you for your comments. We're gonna move forward.
I do
Comments
have
are
one more
noted.
comment. One more comment and then I rest my case. We're asking that you sign the agreed upon revised proposal, proclamation. If you cannot do that tonight, we'll be very, very disappointed, but we will keep asking. We will keep coming back and we will keep asking because this proclamation is really important to people who are living in this community with the prejudice and the bullying and stuff that goes on as a member of that community.
Can I just say something to that? That's not, I obviously do not support that in any way, shape, or form. But I don't support it bullying in anything. I work in a school, in an elementary school, where that's really not the talk. But there are kids that are bullied. There are kids that are discriminated against. There are kids that do. It's
And when you're
unfortunately part of life.
discriminated against, Patty, when you're discriminated against, when you're bullied, do you think that everybody in the world hates you and that you don't have a place here?
Sometimes, yeah.
And a
of course they
proclamation,
do.
and a proclamation like this can go a long way to let them know that
That's, I
the
guess, where we
leaders in this
disagree. I don't think it
community.
goes a long way. I don't
I-
think the proclamation makes the difference. I
If
think.
it didn't, Patty, why am I standing here asking
That's a
you
good
to do
question,
that?
Patty.
Okay, yeah,
Maybe we just don't agree on that,
Okay.
that point.
Okay, but we
We're-
will keep asking. Thank you.
As is your right.
And
yeah,
thanks.
okay. Does anyone want to move forward with either of the proclamations now? Do we adopt a new one? Is there a motion for that, or do we keep the same one as previously adopted so we can reaffirm June as Equality Month in Walton?
I'll move that we use the previously adopted one and move the equality month.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to proclaim June as Equality Month. June 2023 is Equality Month. It's the same proclamation as last year. We have movement and a second.
Do we need to read that, or does it just works? I mean, we don't have to read
We
it
don't have to
into
read
the
the whole
record.
thing, right? It's already in the record.
It's in there.
Yeah, it's in the record from last year.
I just wanna make sure everybody here knows
Yes.
what
If-
it said,
If
because they
anybody
might not
wants a
be,
copy of the proclamation.
they might not be
we have
aware of
that.
it.
Okay, we have a movement and a second. Any further discussion?
Just one comment, I don't think there's anybody at this table or in this room for that matter that is in favor of discrimination of any kind. I think our goal as human beings should be to eliminate discrimination, whether it relates to sexual preferences or to colors or anything else.
Nationalities, anything.
Yeah. Okay, we have a movement and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is confirmed, passed, carried. Thank you.
Kathleen, I will say to you that we didn't have an equality month before then, so your efforts have not been in vain. That there, you and I might not agree on how we are approaching it, but your efforts haven't been in vain, that we have one.